What up, y'all? This is Tracy from Nerd Squish, and today we're going to be talking about the latest spec map for Halloween Horror Nights 2024. I fully intended to make a top 10 vampire movie video, and then a new spec map dropped and I had to switch gears real quickly. So we're gonna take a look at the second map of the season. We're gonna speculate, we're gonna ramble, we're gonna decode, if you will. I will be talking about the Orlando event as it is the one that I frequent. And just remember, this is all just speculations and rumors. The map is put out by Horror Night Nightmares, and then I take all their little symbols and clues, and then I speculate on their speculations. So absolutely none of this is official. All we're doing here is just nerding out. So before we get into the details of this map, if you're a returning viewer, hey, how you doing? Welcome back. And if you're new here, this is Nerd Squish, where we take everything spooky and we take everything nerdy and we squish it all together. So if you like horror movies, Halloween Horror Nights, and pop culture, definitely hit that subscribe button so you can see more videos from us in the future. There is a hair that is tickling me. All right, we're gonna go through this map clockwise. She, in fact, did not go in a clockwise direction. And we're gonna start out at Soundstage 24A, where we have a mute symbol with the film reel. Now, this symbol was on the first spec map of the season, but it has moved to a different location as previously it was in Sprung Tent 3. Again, I think this is either A Quiet Place or Silent Hill. Don't really have anything new to add to that. Moving on to the next one, we have Soundstage 23B. We have the Cadillac with the film reel. So nothing new to add here. Same symbol, same location. Ghostbusters. I'm hyped. Moving on to Soundstage 22, we have a Bride of Frankenstein symbol with a film reel. Now this is where it gets interesting. So obviously this looks like a Bride of Frankenstein house, which is cool. Now I love me some Bride, but this seems a little strange considering that she got a pretty big house back in 2021 with The Bride of Frankenstein Lives, and she was also featured in the Universal Monsters house back in 2019. So this monster certainly had a lot of face time compared to some others. But take note that on this little symbol, we have a film reel. Now, this is where it really gets interesting because, you know, the Universal Monster houses that we've had at Universal, are they originals? Are they IPs? I'm thinking it's an original because at the end of the day, it may be like characters from movies, but it's Universal's characters and they're putting their own spin, their own story on it. It's not following a clear-cut movie. Now there are a lot of Frankenstein projects moving around right now. So this to me points to one thing, at least in my brain, and that would be Lisa Frankenstein. After all, the movie was internationally distributed by Universal Pictures, which would maybe explain why they have this like female symbol attached to this, because it was a movie directed and written by women, kind of for women. So maybe that's why we're seeing this symbol like this. Now I know what you're thinking, like Lisa Frankenstein is not scary. Why would this be a haunted house at Halloween Horror Nights? Well, my argument is that we've had a lot of houses in the past that have been based off of movies that aren't necessarily scary, but they're like spooky adjacent, you know? You got Killer Clowns, you got Ghostbusters. These were not scary houses, but I feel like this has that same tone. And just imagine all these fun, vibrant sets that you see in the movie, but in a house. I'm living for it. Moving on to the next one, we have Soundstage 23A with South America. Now, this is the same location and the same symbol as the last spec map, but it has changed a little bit. Obviously, we still have South America, but we have added some little trees.
Maybe there's a happy tree, evergreen tree. He lives right there.
And unfortunately, you know, due to other things on the map changing, this has changed a lot for me and what I think it was going to be. I was all hyped up trying to think it was a creature from the Black Lagoon house. because I'm trying to manifest my own destiny here, but I don't think that's what this is. These trees are no happy little accident. I think this takes us out of the water and points us toward the Monsteros Monsters of Latin America house that they had at Hollywood last year. Now, because in my head I had that this was a creature house, this is very meh in comparison, but I know that this was a pretty successful house in Hollywood, so we'll see. Moving on to the next house at Soundstage 24B, we have Candy. Now this is very weird. I don't know if somebody's just bored here because same location, still candy, just a different type of candy. So nothing new to report except, I don't know, we were bored and wanted to change graphics. The next house that we have on our map is Fast and Furious with Unknown Original. So on our first map, this was an unknown IP, but we have changed to a Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights original house. Now this is interesting because, according to our last spec map, the event was going to be split in half. 5 original houses and 5 IP houses. So with this change and others on the map, we're looking at a 4-6 split, which is very interesting. The next house is at Sprung Tent 3 and we have a popcorn bucket. So on the first map, this was the mute button that was the first thing that I mentioned in this video. So it's changed, it's moved around, we have added a popcorn bucket. Let me tell you the way this image excited me because I like where this is going. Now in my brain, this could mean 2 things. First, that Usher will make his return and be the icon of HHN 33. No, not that Usher.
Tickets, please.
Okay, that's more like it. This would be huge, and honestly I feel like this really could happen. The icons have made a pretty big return to the event after hiding in the shadows for years. The Usher is one of my personal favorite icons, and I feel like you can do a lot of really fun things with this character. So I'll be pretty excited if this turns into an Usher house. No, not you. Now the second theory I have, and the one that I will never let go because I would be so very excited if this actually happened, is devil dogs. For everyone that I've just confused, stick with me, okay? Back in 2018, Halloween Horror Nights had a house titled Slaughter Cinema. Now in this house, it was filled with different fictional B movies, one of which was Devil Dogs. Devil Dogs was about a pack of werewolf bikers that wreak havoc in a biker bar. Simple concept, but my god is it good. Now this was a house that they did have on early versions of the spec map last year, but it quickly dropped off and so did my happiness. Am I trying to make fetch happen with this speculation? Oh my god, stop that. Is this more likely to be the Usher? Oh my god, we get it, please stop doing that. Moving on to Sprung Tent 4, we have an old-timey kerosene lamp with a film reel. So I'm not gonna lie, this one had me stumped. I was racking my brain to figure out what IP featured an old-timey lamp like this, and I had nothing. And so then I'm sitting there and I'm venting and I'm speculating, and my husband's sitting next to me and he was like, oh, it's probably the last voyage of the Demeter. Needless to say, I was shooketh. I absolutely love that movie, and this image definitely points towards that direction. There's a lot of kerosene type lamps in the film, and there's one specific scene that comes to mind when I think of this lamp and this movie. So this is a pretty good theory in my opinion, although I don't think that this will be at the event. Here's the thing, one of my favorite movies, but it didn't really do that well. It's just not a movie that people buzz about because people are wrong. And at the end of the day, if it didn't come out last year when the movie came out, I don't think they're gonna randomly drop it in 2024. And at the end of the day, Halloween Horror Nights is not going to pick a property just all willy-nilly. If this is an IP, a character, a movie, a TV show that people know, they're going to pick something big because they want people to walk through those gates, even though there are far too many people. already walking through those gates, but hey, money, what are you gonna do? However, with Epic Universe coming in 2025, the park is looking to make budget cuts. So we've already seen this kind of fall down on the park with cutting several of the street performers, and also I think a lot of the attractions and parts of the park, they're not really opening until later in the day. So with this information, it would only make sense that they're gonna make some cuts at Halloween Horror Nights as well. And what's the easiest way to do that? More original houses and utilizing their own Universal properties. And the Last Voyage of the Demeter is a Universal property. So I'm just saying, it's possible. Now, all that being said, something has recently come into light, and I think what this is actually gonna be is Insidious. Blumhouse has been a staple at this event, and if you look at the rest of the spec map, nothing else is pointing in that direction. Now, I don't know anything about Insidious. I did watch the first movie, wasn't really wild about it. To be honest, I don't really remember much about it, so I never watched any of the other movies. But if you look at the poster and the trailer for the latest movie in the franchise, Insidious: The Red Door, what do you see? A lantern. So I guess I'll need to be binging this movie franchise so I'm not completely clueless when I walk through this house. Next house we have is Sprung Tent 2, and we have a black and white house. So on our first spec map, we had a black and white skull, which obviously has been removed, and now we have this split black and white house. I'm assuming this still has something to do with the tribute to Terror and Boris Schuster. Perhaps this is where all the supernatural spookiness goes down. And the very last house that we have on our version 2 spec map is at Sprung Tent 1 with the Eye of Horus. This right here is interesting. We have the Eye of Horus, which is a symbol from ancient Egypt that represents restoration, health, and protection. The eye seems to be in some kind of frame, or maybe it's a painting, and it's on a wall with like these security ropes, so maybe it's in a museum? So this is pointing towards a mummy house, but the museum kind of detail kind of confuses me. If you look at a lot of these other symbols that we see, they're pretty simple. This one is weirdly detailed. Also, this seems odd because the mummy was pretty heavily featured in 2022's Legends Collide, and why would we have yet another mummy house when the creature from the Black Lagoon has still not gotten the respect he deserves? I digress. This is probably some sort of mummy house. If anything, this symbol does kind of make me happy because it makes my brain go to the weird places that my brain goes. And I was immediately thinking about the Mummy episode of Big Wolf where Merton reads the hieroglyphics and brings the mummy back to life.
Imanhotep, Usher cap, hardly barley, ha, thicky, die, die, little bird, ha, 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 daddy, ha, ha,
What does that mean?
You know, it brings me joy. Now, this is not me saying that Big Wolf would ever be at this event. That's not what I'm saying here. I'm not that delusional. A girl can only dream. But I love that this symbol immediately took me to that episode. If you have any clue what I'm talking about, leave a comment down below and I'll give you a sweet virtual high five for knowing my very obscure reference. And that is a wrap on the houses. So let's move on to everything else that we have on this spec map. Now, there's no new news with the scare zones. They look exactly the same as the last map, which means they're just extremely mysterious. But the shows have changed because the castle IP has disappeared. This makes me sad. I had really high hopes that this was gonna be some sort of Universal Monster, Beetlejuice Graveyard Review, Scooby-Doo type show, and clearly that's not happening. And there you have it. There are my speculations for the latest speculation map for Halloween Horror Nights 2024. I personally love the direction that this map is going in, although I shouldn't get too happy because the next map could completely go in another direction. Only time will tell. What do you think about this latest spec map? What are some of your speculations for these mysterious symbols? Let me know in the comments. I'm just so happy that we have another spec map. I'm not gonna lie. I had like all these ideas in my head. I'm thinking about this top 10 vampire movie video that I'm gonna do, and I was stoked because your boy Garrett at Born to Be Rad put out a vampire movie video, and I was like, I love this. This is brilliant. We just did an Abigail review. Let's keep these good vibes going. And then Halloween Horror Nights, as per usual, just stopped everything. And I was like, oh, wait, we need to obsess about that first. So I love it. I don't know. I love this time of year. I don't care if it's the speculations. I don't care if it's the official announcements. They're all so exciting. Honestly, speculations might be a little bit more exciting because at least I can put my delusions of what I want it to be into the spec map before the official announcements come out, and I'm, 50% very disappointed. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so when new videos hit the channel, you'll be notified. Because believe me, you're gonna wanna stick around. We are gonna be talking about every speculation map, every announcement, and we are gonna keep you up to date on what's going on for Halloween Horror Nights 33. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you nerds in the fog!